Good evening. Today's lesson is about Geoffrey Chaucer, who is considered the father of modern English, of the medieval English literature and English language, and his masterpiece, the Canterbury Tales. So, Geoffrey Chaucer was born about 1343, and he was son of a wine merchant, so he belonged to the new social class that had risen after the Black Death and had become increasingly important in the social, political and economic life of England. His father was so rich that could grant him an excellent education. After that, he found employment in the house of John of Gaunt, who is considered the richest man of England and who was the illegitimate son of King Edward III. His skills and inventiveness as a writer, his clever mind and practical skills helped him raise in his social status. Actually, he was given by the king the title of Controller of the Customs for the Port of London, an employment that granted him welfare and a comfortable house, and he could also marry an aristocratic woman. Apart from this, he had a key role at the court of King Edward III. Actually, he took part in diplomatic missions for the king, and during one of these missions, he was taken prisoner in France, and the king paid for his ransom. Another diplomatic mission he did was in Italy, during which he was probably acquainted with Petrarch and Boccaccio, two poets that he greatly admired. He died in 1400, and he was the first poet to be buried in Westminster Abbey in Poets' Corner. So why is Chaucer considered the father of English literature? Because he is one of the first English poets to be known by name. As you can remember, all the previous literary productions, ballads or epic poems, were anonymous compositions. So Geoffrey Chaucer was the first poet to sign his productions by his name. His language was the dialect of the native London, which gradually became the standard English, thus becoming the basis of modern English. Actually, at Chaucer's times, three were the languages spoken by English people. Latin was the language of the court and of diplomacy, together with Greek. Common people spoke a mixture of French and old Anglo-Saxon words, which became the medieval English or old English. Medieval English, and people at the court spoke French. In his masterpiece, The Canterbury Tales, Geoffrey Chaucer was the first one to give a portrait of the English society of the time, especially as regards to the new social classes. We can distinguish three periods in Chaucer's literary production. The French period, modeled on French Romance styles and subjects, such as the Romaunt of the Rose and the Book of the Duchess, which he wrote in memory of John of Gaunt's wife. Then we have the Italian period, where he can see how the influence of Italian literature was influenced his production. And then we have his more mature and original period, the English period, which was marked by greater realism and includes his masterpiece, the Canterbury Tales. So what's the Canterbury Tales? The Canterbury Tales is a narrative poem told in verse. It contains a variety of narrative elements, such as a setting in time and place, that is London, the city of London, the road to Canterbury, the month of April, and the description of characters, and the use of a narrator. So for the first time, we have a third-person narrator that introduces the various characters, so that the narration of each tale is by a singular character at a time. It also has links with the moral views of the time, not only the moral views, but also the habits of the time, such as the new fashion of going on a pilgrimage. And it also gives insight into individual characters as regards their lifestyles, their psychology, their experience, and their physical aspects, description of their personal skills, and of all their apparels. We can say that the Canterbury Tales has a lot in common with Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron, because the two works have many things in common. For example, the frame. In the Canterbury Tales, the frame is made up by the general introduction, during which Chaucer as a protagonist, and one of the protagonists, being one of the pilgrims and also a narrator, introduces the period of the time, the moment when the pilgrims meet at the Tabard Inn in London and decide to travel together to Canterbury. And he also introduces each pilgrim by describing them. At the same time, in Giovanni Boccaccio's Decameron, we can see how the writer introduces the various characters in the cornice. The cornice corresponds to the occasion of the meeting, the explanation of the background story that introduces all the various tales. Okay, so the structure of the Canterbury Tales. It consists of a general prologue where the pilgrims are introduced, and 24 tales, usually preceded by a prologue which introduces the theme of the tale, and also these tales are sometimes followed by an epilogue. The story is very simple. 30 people, including Chaucer as a narrator, meet at the Tabard Inn in London. They are all going on a pilgrimage to Canterbury Cathedral and the shrine of Thomas Becket. So, since the roads are not very safe, they decided to make a company and travel together there. So the innkeeper of the inn suggests that every pilgrim should tell 2 stories on the way to Canterbury and 2 stories on the way back, and the pilgrim who tells the best story will win a free dinner. The various tales are both religious, humorous, moral, and satirical. So the setting We can say as the setting has London as a point of departure and Canterbury as a destination, but these two settings have also an allegorical meaning. The first one represents the terrestrial city because it is human and linked to worldly pleasures. The second represents the celestial cities, which is holy, but the pilgrims will never reach it. Like most medieval literature, the Canterbury Tales have a didactic aim. To teach the reader a moral through the narration of exempla. Actually, exempla, which means example in English. All the structure of the Canterbury Tales is allegorical. The Canterbury Tales can be interpreted as an allegorical poem, like Divina Commedia. It can be read as the travel that a soul has to go through various difficulties until the final step, the reaching of paradise. So why pilgrimage to Canterbury? Canterbury is the greatest, the most important religious seat in England, and it is also the shrine of Thomas Becket, England's first martyr, that was probably murdered on order of King Henry II by a group of knights in Canterbury Cathedral. At the time, taking a pilgrimage was very common in Chaucer's day, and people went on pilgrimage to ask for healing or forgiveness of sins, but also to socialize. In the case of the protagonist of Canterbury Tales, we have this group of pilgrims who are going to Canterbury in order to thank the saint who had helped them during the Black Death. But we can also see one of them, the wife of Bath, who is traveling because she's looking for a sixth husband. So the style of Canterbury Tales is very important. It is written in rhyming couplets, AABB, made up of iambic pentameters. Iambic pentameters is a kind of line made up of 10 syllables divided into 5 feet following the stressed pattern, unstressed, stressed. An example can be seen in this line: and bathed every vein in such liquor. As you can hear, I have read line according to an unstressed and stressed pattern. Each group of 2 syllables is called foot, and the line "and bathed every vein in such liquor" follows the stress pattern unstressed, stressed. The unstressed syllable is marked with this semicircular symbol. The stressed symbol is marked by a stress. This kind of line, the iambic pentameter, will become very popular in the following period of English literature, especially during the Renaissance, because it is the line used by the poets for writing sonnets, but also William Shakespeare will use this kind of line. A very important element in the Canterbury tale is the characterization, that is the description of the characters. Characterization was not